Throughout history, no other surf spot in the world has had the capacity to make and break reputations like the Pipeline. Maybe it's the Hawaiian surf spot's extraordinarily photogenic character, perhaps simply its proximity to shore. But Pipeline offers studio-quality observation of big wave surfing like nowhere else on Earth. Only a handful of surfers have been identified with Pipeline, and among them Gerry Lopez was the original master. He surfed it with an uncanny sense of timing, perfect positioning, and a style so casual it might have appeared to mock the wave's awesome power. But there was no such arrogance in Lopez's approach to Pipeline's fury. He was so perfectly in sync with the wave's unique nature that he appeared to be part of its heaving, hollow environment. Lopez's untouchable mastery at the fearsome spot made him a surfing legend revered throughout the world.
You know, he really kind of epitomizes that waterman kind of, he's up on a whole different level. You know, he's like a prince, you know, of the sport.
I'd like to hold it up to Gerry that he was a good influence on me, watching him surf, trying to copy some of the things he did.
Cool. That's a good word for Lopez. You know, just cool.
But there was so much more to Gerry Lopez than just being an incredible surfer. As charismatic, intelligent, and intuitive on land as he was in the waves, Lopez embarked on a lifelong career in the sport that is equally unique in surfing's history. He launched a surfboard and clothing label that was so successful, it became a model for an entire industry. He explored for new surfing areas in the wild jungles of Indonesia, acted in Hollywood movies, pushed the limits of snowboarding, and in his late 40s began toe-in big wave surfing on Maui's outer reefs. For all of Gerry Lopez's many and extraordinary business ventures, world travels, and pursuits of thrills in other extreme sports, when winter came to the North Shore, Gerry could always be found back home at the house he owned, right there on the beach at the Pipeline. For the best part of 25 years, he was a fixture and figurehead of the spot, and the guru for successive generations of tube riders.
You can find out really quickly whether you're at that level of performance or not, you know, and I mean safely too, without having to go in the pit and, you know, risk your life. Basically just paddling off the beach, you know, you can tell if you don't make it out, there's probably a good chance that you aren't at the peak level of performance and you probably shouldn't be out there.
Gerry Lopez was born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. As a boy, Lopez learned to surf in the gentle waters of Waikiki, and then in the hollow tubes of Ala Moana, where he was inspired by talented standouts like Donald Takayama and Paul Stroud, and the older hot-dogging, tube-riding pioneers like Conrad Canna. The young Lopez went to high school at Punahou, a spawning ground for legions of hot surfers during the 60s. Even some of the teachers at Punahou were great surfers in their own right, such as big wave riders Peter Cole and Fred Van Dyke. It was actually on a school outing to the North Shore that Lopez first ventured out at Pipeline and took a few tips from North Shore local Jock Sutherland.
I was riding a 9/8 Wardy, and I didn't make one drop. Couldn't figure it out. Finally, Jock paddled out, and he's the same age as we were, but he, you know, he grew up out there. He kind of showed us what to do. He was really good already. I think we were like 13 or 14 years old. And he had it wired. Something else.
To tell somebody, you know, a little hint about a surf spot and have them pick up on it and do well. So it's a great two-way.
After high school, he had a brief stint attending college in California before returning home to attend the University of Hawaii. But an academic education slowly gave way to learning of a different kind, especially during wintertime on Oahu's North Shore. By the late 60s, Lopez was studying the basics of surfboard building and putting theory into practice at Haleiwa, Sunset Beach, Rocky Point, and of course, the Bonsai Pipeline.
Always built these surfboards that you didn't really have to do anything to make them go. You could just stand on them. And that's kind of been my theory behind surfboards ever since, you know, is that what I don't like in a surfboard is one that you've got to bounce around and, you know, jiggle it to make it go. I want a surfboard that once it catches the wave, you just stand on it. You know, of course, you have to stand in the right spot, but it just goes on its own. And I think that the equipment we were riding pretty much had a lot to do with how the style that we surf the wave developed.
Because of the intense media attention focused at Pipeline, Lopez's natural affinity for the tube, his casual surfing style, and charismatic personality quickly established an international reputation and respect.
It was kind of like style was the big thing, like you were a matador, and Gerry epitomized that in how he surfed. You know, he was straight up and just like this with just this awesome barrels flying right over his head, you know. Gerry was like this calm, you know, as the media would say, like a Zen type of way of surfing in the eye of the hurricane or the barrel.
Gerry's charismatic personality and image launched a new surfboard label, Lightning Bolt. Jack Shipley, who's known Gerry Lopez since he was a boy and was an experienced surf shop manager, remembers how the two of them became partners in a surfing brand name that would go on to enormous success for more than 12 years.
You know, the name Lightning Bolt came from one of Gerry's templates. He had boards that he made for Pipeline that were just basically just speed runners. You know, they didn't do anything else but run fast, and he called them lightning bolts. And as two people, we just started talking, and we decided we could maybe do our own shop and do it a little bit better.
Lightning Bolt became a world-renowned logo during the 70s. Its symbolic power source logo, arguably the ultimate graphic definition of surfing's electrifying appeal. Lopez traveled extensively, was constantly featured in all the top surf movies and magazines of the day, and became a surfing cult hero around the world. In Australia, he created a buzz from Bells to Burleigh, and was afforded the quiet respect few foreigners enjoyed during the proud nationalism of embryonic pro surfing down under. Australian Mark Richards, four-time world professional champion of the late 70s and early 80s, and a Lightning Bolt team rider, was just beginning his record-setting career when Lopez's image and influence was reaching its peak.
Gerry was kind of one of those guys that I idolised when I was growing up. Yeah, in Australia here we grew up on surfing. Was always amazed at how casual he was, you know, pulling into these, you know, giant death-defying barrels of Pipeline. It was just, you know, the cool calculated cat-like takeoff, the slow bottom turn, and just that really relaxed pose in the barrel.
Lopez saw Lightning Bolt grow into a worldwide licensing success story in apparel and accessories. But the moment it became too big, too corporate, and too far removed from its roots, he cashed out and quit, stunning his partners and the entire surfing world.
What happened was when everybody, you know, when the money started rolling in, then this proxy battle developed for control, and everybody, you know, started using lawyers, and oh, it was a mess. And I bailed. I went, and I was just starting to go down to Indonesia. I thought that would be a nice place to be rather than in, you know, lawyers' offices in Los Angeles.
While Gerry Lopez competed in many of the early pro contests in Hawaii,